back to the Fill My Cup podcast. Today we are going to discuss John chapter 6. Let's go.
You are now tuned in to the Fill My Cup podcast with Nikki, Brandy, and your boy, Corn, where we dive into the Bible chapter by chapter. Join us as we connect God's word to our everyday lives. Get your cups up, get ready, let's go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fill My Cup podcast. We are back. Today we have Nikki and Brandy, and we are ready to talk about chapter 6 of the book of John. All right, y'all ready?
Yes. AJ.
AJ, okay. So let's just get started. Everybody's okay? Everybody's doing good?
Yeah, doing really good. How are you?
I'm good.
How are you, Brandy?
I'm doing great.
All right, well, let's just get started. All right, my title of this, I'm reading from the NIV version. Jesus feeds the 5,000, I'm sorry. The thousands. But I guess that still works. All right. Let's start. So the first verse. So time after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. All right, what y'all think about this? We are on a mountainside. Mm-hmm. Jesus is there. He had a crowd of people following him. And he asked Philip, what did he say? Where
we gonna get food for these folks?
Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? My first thing was, why am I worried about feeding these people? Why is it his responsibility to feed these people? Is he not the talent or whatever already that, hey, I'm providing the miracles, I'm providing the wisdom? Why are we, him and his apostles or disciples, worrying about feeding all these people? That's just like saying, A$AP Rocky concert or whoever concert, he's worrying about feeding the people that come to the concert. He's the talent, right?
But the ego, like, clearly Jesus was humble, like there was no ego involved. So he wasn't seeing himself as a talent. He saw himself on a mission to lead people. So he felt he had a responsibility of these people. So they were following him. He felt like, okay, well, let's give them food.
Okay, you got something you want to say, Nikki?
No, I think that's right. I think that Jesus being Jesus, he's seen the crowd. It was a festival going on. And yeah, Jesus being Jesus.
Jesus being Jesus. You say that, but when has he ever done this before? This wasn't routine, right? He didn't feed everybody every time people was following them, right?
Well, we don't know. Possibly. But we've seen that side of Jesus where, again, we just read in the last couple of chapters, the Samaritan woman, he healed the sick boy. So, and again, John is reminding us that he has been healing and just doing all these miracles. So I just think that is, like I said, Jesus being Jesus. But he could have possibly been, feeding people before this, just in addition to another thing that he's doing.
And also, I say this because it kind of throws off the disciples that we're going to read, is that they're like, we can't feed all these people. It's going to cost too much. And, we don't have enough food or whatever. So this don't seem like this was something that he did all the time, because they was really thrown off with that.
But weren't they following? It seemed like they were like on some type of a journey, right? Because he's like, a crowd of people followed him as he performed. Like as they saw him doing all these miracles, they started following him wherever he went. Like I don't think he was like, "Come on, guys, y'all come with me." They just saw like, this dude is different. Let's see where he's going. Let's see what else he's, going to do. So maybe they were following for a long journey. I think that, like you said, Jesus being Jesus, he's being an example. He's being a leader. So he's leading these people, so he wanted to feed them.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so verse 7, Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far would they go among so many?" So here I have a note. So Philip, one of the disciples said that's too expensive. In verse 8, Andrew spoke up and he said, "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish." I've heard pastors say that this was a little boy's lunch, right? Have y'all heard that before?
Yeah.
So my thing, if I was if I put myself in their shoes at that time,
the disciples' shoes?
I wouldn't even say the disciples' shoes, but somebody who was standing next to them, and they have this situation where they're trying to feed over 5,000 people. Why would somebody, Andrews, say, "Here's a little lunchbox. Can this help?" I know, because he even said, even though I know that, it's not going to go a long way. Why would he even bring that up? If I'm trying to feed 5,000 people, wouldn't it be pretty stupid for somebody to say, "I got a lunchbox here"?
He's talking to Jesus. Didn't Jesus turn water into wine?
But you would suggest to use this lunchbox? If anything, Jesus just make it come out of thin air.
I think it was the mustard seed faith.
The mustard seed.
He's like, "Look, this is all we have, like in terms of food that you can touch. What can you do with this?" So I think it was just a gesture of like, "Look, use what you have and see God turn it into something even bigger." So I think it was just a moment where they're like, "Look, this is what we got."
Okay, I like it. Nikki?
Yeah.
You agree?
I would be like, if I was Jesus, obviously that ego side, like, come on, man. Like, stop playing with me. What are we doing here? But I think, to Brandy's point, the disciples obviously have been following Jesus for quite some time now. We've all seen the miracle that he's done. And he was just like, little boy got something, in hopes that Jesus may be able to do something with that, or just like, yeah, all we got, is this little boy here. It could have been one of two things. Like, yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it could have been like a sly joke. Like, yeah, this little boy got 2, fish and 5 loaves of bread. So it could have been one or two things. And asking Jesus, like, yeah, here, do a little something, like that wedding thing.
Right, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it could have been, I think, one or two ways that you can take it and read in it.
The thing about it is, did Philip create the miracle with his own mind? Was he thinking about, hey, maybe God can multiply this little bit that I do have? Just because nobody, for the wedding thing you said, nobody had a little bit of wine left, and he was like, "Hey, here's a little bit of wine. Can you multiply that?" He changed something totally different, water into wine.
Mm-hmm.
But he had something.
I don't know.
He just healed a man that never walked before. You know what I mean? So, I just think that, again, one or two ways. Like, he was saying, like, God, here's something, like, try to do something. I see this little boy. Or in like a joking way, like, yeah, or in a doubting way, I should say, there's literally nothing. And the most we got is this little boy with his lunchbox. So
I see it as an act of faith. Just like you, like offering, if you give your last offering. Like we can all day, even though we can have a couple pennies and we can be like, nope, I'm going to keep these pennies to myself, but I'm still like pray and ask God for a miracle. But like you give God what you have and see what he can do with that. Like it's just that, I think it's the faith more so. Yeah. Than just feeling like, okay, God, do your work and make it happen. Like you're giving some type of an offering of like, this is what we have.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great miracle, especially with them having extra after everybody was full, right?
Oh yeah.
But one little thing I just want to mention.
I thought about something too though, because he was like he gave it to the ones that were seated, and I was like, well, maybe all of them didn't sit down. That's what thought I had.
Did you read that at, Brandon?
It said, let me see.
I know the next verse says, "Have the people sit down."
Yeah.
Yeah, it said, oh, did I go ahead?
Maybe. Yeah, he told everybody to sit down in verse 10.
He said it was 5,000 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, have the people sit down. There's plenty of grass. He said they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. I guess they all sat down. Said then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they want. I don't know. Maybe I read too much into the part where it says those who were seated.
Right.
I was like, maybe some of them may sit down. So
everybody ate and they were
5,000 is a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, man. It really is.
But I read into that part a lot. But
I just thought, and after I just thought, we don't got to stay on this for a long time. But what if the miracle was that they all were full? They wasn't hungry anymore. They didn't need the bread. They didn't need the fish. God just said, snapped his finger. Y'all full. Y'all good.
Well, further along, he talks about, Jesus being the bread of life, and that's all you really need. So, yeah, I think we'll talk about that once we get there.
Nice. All right.
Y'all trying to take Jesus' miracle away. Y'all like, nah, he ain't just
put that in there real quick.
He just snapped his finger.
Yeah, just imagine. He snapped his finger, everybody's good, and then he's like, we don't need this food. This is the food that you need.
If only that was easy. God, just take my hunger away. I ain't gonna be eating.
Just imagine. And that, what's it called? The world hunger that'll defeat it or whatever it's called. In a snap, everybody, you don't gotta eat it. But anyway, let's continue. All right. Verse 10, Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten.
Wow.
So, what do y'all think? I think there's a message in the leftovers. And I've heard many messages on the leftovers. But he said that. He's keeping the leftovers. That must mean something deeper.
I think so. I mean, it just like goes to show that so many different things. I think it could be a layered takeaway, but first thing I think of is how many times that we may have prayed for something or just trusted God or been obedient, and he just like supersedes your expectation. And those are that like overflow of blessings, you know what I mean? Or overflow of leftovers in a sense, if you were, using this example where God just like, you ask him for something. And obviously these people ain't really asked, God just was being Jesus being Jesus. But he just supersedes your expectation and like show out, you know what I mean? Like just showing out at this point. Because it goes above and beyond. So yeah, I just think that that's just a layered thing of that overflow of blessings that, God does many times in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And it said, let nothing be wasted.
What was your stance on that? Like, what was your...
They ate to their full, and then they gathered the leftovers. So he didn't want nothing to be wasted. The way I think about stuff is that if you get, let's just say money, you get a lot of money, and then, that's probably a bad example, and then you use the money you got left over, you should use that leftovers for something too. It's something
to help others. Like it be a blessing to others. It's a blessing to be a blessing. So I think that's, to me, that's the message in it. Like if God gives you overflow, then you spread that to others to be a blessing.
Yeah, agree.
So a domino effect in
a
way.
All right.
And then, just to piggyback off of that, it's like sometimes you have so much of stuff that you don't even recognize like that blessing. You know what I mean? Like the overflow is a blessing in itself. Oftentimes, and then you forget like to help others with it, and you're looking at it as like waste. You know what I mean? But other people that you may give it to and share that, blessing with is just like, man, thank God, thank you. I appreciate, so just appreciative of what you gave them. So yeah, definitely.
I was thinking when you said that, I was thinking about all the clothes I got in my closet that just sits there doing nothing. We need to give those away. Especially I got shoes in there too that I don't even wear.
Yeah, it's like a waste to you, but it's not a waste to others. So yeah.
Yeah, we might need to put something in place for that. Let me write that down.
I take it to Goodwill. But even though they sell it, but I don't know.
That's fine.
Yeah. But or even like the financial part, like if you have an overflow of finances, like your bills are paid, and you have, you still want to save and everything, but don't go and waste it on things you don't need. Like, oh, I got all this money now, I can just go buy random things that I've always wanted, but they really have no purpose or substance.
Good point. So, yeah.
I think that ties into it too. Like, don't let your money go to waste because you're just being careless.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Be mindful of your overflow and
come on, Brandy. Yes.
Because that's the first thing we think about, right? When we get an overflow of money, get a new job, or, what is that?
Income
advancement or whatever. We're just like, what can we get? Like, I can get a new car. I can get, these new shoes. I can start buying some Gucci and, we think about all the stuff we want.
Yeah.
Material things. So being mindful of that as well.
I love what you said. Be mindful of your overflow. Because even, I know we got a couple minutes here, but even like your access, like your time, you know what I mean? If you have that extra time on your hand to like call somebody or help out somebody in need or, whatever your overflow is at the moment, because some, may not have money, but whatever that is, like your wisdom, your experience, whatever your overflow, don't forget to share that with other people and don't waste that overflow, whatever that is. So
good time experience.
Yes, I love it.
All right.
Be a mentor.
Verse 13. After the people saw the sign, Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. Why did he do that? Why don't he want to be a king? I thought he was the king of the Jews.
I think timing is important. Almost, and again, like when Jesus turned the water to wine, he was like, women, you know what I mean? And my takeaway was like, he already knew what was going to happen, but I think things have to happen in order, and it's perfect timing for Jesus. And so that's just my thing, is that because eventually they did, crown him king and all this stuff. But I just think it wasn't his time yet now.
I just say that because I'm starting to notice that he's always kind of slipping. He does something and then he kind of slip out or slip into the crowd or just gets away. He did the miracle with the guy before and healed him. Then he kind of slipped away, and now he did this, and now he's slipping away. Why is Jesus so slippery?
Yeah. I think that Jesus knew his purpose for being there. He always says he was on a mission, so he knew what his mission was. People didn't know his connection with God. He knew why he was there. So whatever, he wasn't living for what they wanted him to be. He knew who he was.
Yeah.
So he had to stay the course.
I like that. He had to stay the course.
Yeah. Good.
Man, let me write that down. Stay the course. I need to.
I'm telling you, Brittany, she about to get my offering plate in a second.
It's something I just thought about. You know how you can have intentions on doing things and you're elevating through life, and people want to put you on a pedestal or put you in a certain category, and if you fall into that just because people are pushing you into it, you might fall out of character. You might, get out of God's purpose and get into your own purpose.
Come on now.
Because all these people are praising you. So
yeah.
Nikki,
I think if you fell into that trap, not to say Jesus could, but he clearly didn't. He knew why he was there. But you can fall into that ego trap and lose yourself.
Yeah, and lose your purpose, like you said. What's the purpose? So, yes.
You can relate to that, Nikki?
Can I relate to that? Of course. I mean, it's just a good reminder, because, it may not have to be like something as big as somebody trying to lift you up and praise you, but in your own mind, you fall into that ego if you allow your mind to take you there. So if you constantly getting, praise like, oh my God, you're so smart, or you're so beautiful, and that kind of sinks into your spirit, or the wrong spirit, I should say, and you lose your focus, and you lose somewhat your identity. And I love what Brandy said, the purpose of what you're really there for. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I can definitely relate, where, you kind of get in your own head and in your own space, and you like you said, be slipping, but it's really you losing what you really are supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
I think that's it. You have to detach yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
To refocus. And I think that's what he had to do.
Come on, Brandy. Yes.
Both of y'all both coming through today. Okay. All right. So the next chapter, or not chapter, but the next little verse is talking about Jesus walks on water. Verse 16. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. But now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I, don't be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore, where they were heading. All right, so I put down verse 17. They left Jesus. They left Jesus in verse 17. They got in the boat, they left, and then Jesus came. What do y'all think? Walking on water.
You don't think Jesus told him to leave him?
No, I think Jesus went to the mountainside to get away from the big crowd because they were forcing him to they were going to force him to be king, and then they left him. They didn't say Jesus. I didn't read it. Did y'all read that?
I don't see where they said where you're getting they left him at.
Verse 17, where they. Oh, let's go to 16. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. They were leaving to go to Capernaum.
Okay.
And then, by now, it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. Then they say a strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on water. And they were frightened. They was frightened because they left Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. And Jesus coming like, oh, y'all left me? No.
Got it.
I think he approached them with like, y'all left me.
I don't think so. Y'all joking a little bit. But they did leave him though.
But later, doesn't it talk about that they had multiple boats? Maybe like they had a conversation and Jesus was like, all right, I'll be right behind y'all.
Oh. Maybe.
But Jesus like, nope, I ain't getting on the boat. I'm just going to walk all over.
Maybe he wanted to show himself again. Another miracle.
He imagine casually walking over to the boat like, hey.
I definitely feel like he was very intentional in what he was, trying to do here. Yeah, that was like he's trying to show the disciples who he really is, even though they got a feel for it. But obviously, it takes it to a whole nother level when you see Jesus walking on water.
Because he does mention, like, he's like, you people, I have to show y'all because y'all don't believe what I got to say.
Yeah. Or what he said, like, some of y'all will only believe miracles, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not enough for me to tell y'all God sent me.
Yes.
So I think that there's a message in how they were kind of on their own in the boat, and then the winds were strong and they're blowing. And then God comes just walking up. Like, I don't know if it was like you said, he was, briskly or just, calm walking. And I don't know. What was it?
He's saying there's a connection to life. Winds blowing.
Yeah, winds blowing. You're away from God. You're away from Jesus. And then God comes.
He said, let me in. He said, let me in your situation.
And then they were willing to let him inside the boat.
He said, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. All right. Yep. All right. Anything else on that? So now they're on the other side of the Capernaum or whatever, on the other side of the river or lake that they were on. All right. Verse 22. The next day, the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there, and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples, but that they had gone away alone. Then some boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went to Capernaum in search of Jesus. They're going to find Jesus.
What you said?
They're going to make a way to find Jesus. You ain't going to leave me, Jesus.
Yeah. And again, it's like he's done so much up until then that they're really, because my in verse 22, like my title says, the people seek Jesus, and so they were really, really trying to find Jesus and see like what he's about, and let's keep going.
Later, he talks about, because this is the end of our episode, but later he talks about how they only came to him because they were hungry, and he's like, don't, seek like physical food, but the spiritual food, right? His body.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But yeah, on my side of it, that's the end. Unless I don't know if we can continue, because that's a whole nother different topic on my Bible app.
Yeah, I think we should pause, because the bread of life gets deep. So
definitely gonna pause. We're just getting started with John chapter 6. We're gonna continue next week, so come back.
Yes.
Yeah. What do y'all think about it so far?
It's getting good. It's getting good. I'm learning a lot.
We're on a little journey with Jesus, right?
We are. We are seeing his miracles and signs and wonders. The first couple of ones, he was at the tabernacle or at the church, flipping tables and stuff, and now we on this journey of miracles and blessings, and yeah.
This is so good, so good to me. So, all right, everybody, we want you to connect with us. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share these videos.
Yes.
We want y'all to email us at ContactFillMyCup.gmail.com or whatever, however you say it. So please, do I need to repeat that? ContactFillMyCup@gmail.com. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
Randy, are you ready to end us out in prayer?
Sure. All right, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for your grace and your mercy, your protection. We thank you for this time that we have together, Lord, to read your word. We pray that it is a blessing to others and that we continue to carry it in our hearts, Lord, day to day. All these things we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.